In the spring of 1945, a list was drawn up. It was a simple typewritten column of names. It included Hiroshima, Kokura, Niigata, Kyoto. These were the target cities for a new, singularly terrible American weapon. The list was based on cold, clinical criteria, military industry, strategic importance, and the need for an unblemished target to clearly demonstrate the weapon's destructive power. One man saw this list. His name was Major John Jack O'Malley, and he was not a pilot, a scientist, or a general. He was a quartermaster attached to the Target Committee in Washington, D.C. His job was logistical, to provide maps, population data, and supply line assessments for potential bombing targets. He was a clerk in the machinery of destruction. But Jack O'Malley had a secret. Before the war, he was a scholar. He had spent 2 years in Japan on a cultural exchange, studying Buddhist art. He had lived in Kyoto. He had walked its quiet stone streets, meditated in its moss-covered temple gardens, and taken tea with elderly masters who showed him 800-year-old scrolls. He knew Kyoto was not just a city. It was the beating cultural heart of Japan, a living museum of 1,000 years of art, architecture, and spirit. Destroying it would not be a military act. It would be a crime against human history. As the project, now called the Manhattan Project, hurtled toward completion, O'Malley watched in silent horror. The target debates were technical, devoid of the humanity he knew. Kyoto was praised for its ideal size, an untouched urban landscape. It was the perfect laboratory for the bomb. O'Malley made his choice. He would not follow his orders. He would sabotage them with bureaucracy. He began a one-man campaign, fought with memorandums and file stamps. He meticulously overinflated Kyoto's logistical difficulties in his reports. He claimed, with falsified data, that the surrounding mountains would focus and diminish the blast effect, making it a poor scientific sample. He buried requests for Kyoto's maps under layers of red tape and routing errors. In meetings, he became a broken record of tedious quartermaster objections. Supply lines for assessment teams would be untenable. Terrain complicates damage evaluation. Existing incendiary data for secondary targets is insufficient. His superiors, brilliant physicists and strategists, grew impatient with the bean counter's naysaying. To them, he was an obstructionist clerk. To O'Malley, every delay was a victory. His final desperate act was to bypass the chain of command. He used an old academic contact to arrange a secret off-the-books meeting with Secretary of War Henry Stimson. Stimson had once been Governor General of the Philippines and had visited Kyoto. He knew its cultural weight. O'Malley, risking court-martial, presented his case not as a soldier, but as a humanist. He laid photographs of the Golden Pavilion and the rock garden of Ryongji on Stimson's desk. "This is not a military target, sir," he said. "This is what we are supposedly saving. If we destroy this, we become what we are fighting." Stimson was moved. He took the fight directly to President Truman. He argued fiercely that destroying Kyoto would forever poison any possibility of reconciliation with Japan, turning the U.S. into a barbarian in the eyes of history. Kyoto was removed from the list. It was replaced by the coastal city of Nagasaki. The war ended. O'Malley was mustered out quietly, with no commendation. He returned to academia, never speaking of his role. Kyoto stood, serene and whole, its temples and gardens intact. History records that Secretary Stimson saved Kyoto, but it was a quartermaster's quiet, relentless, paper-based mutiny that gave him the weapon to do so. O'Malley proved that in a war fought with the world's most advanced science, the most powerful defense could sometimes be a simple, stubborn, deeply human "no," whispered in the right ear, and backed by the love of a city's ancient stones.